This is 32 stories, the complete optic nerve mini comics by Adrian Tomine. These were published originally in the very early 90s when Adrian was in high school, and then ended when he was very early in his college life. Eventually, John and Quarterly, he got on John and Quarterly's radar, and then John and Quarterly started publishing Optic Nerve. But before then, he self-published these zines. And it's a really interesting look now. And this book was originally printed, this collection was originally printed, I would say 1990, I want to say 1999 in this format. And then it was reissued as a second edition in 2014. This is the 2014 edition. I picked this up a few months ago in a bookstore, and I got it for cover. So the series comes in, the set comes in, excuse me, in this kind of like a box set kind of thing. And what they did was, as faithfully as possible, they reprinted all the issues. Nice sturdy box. This is an intro. This is Mr. Tomine as a high school student. And here, this introduction just talks about how he started off and a lot of things that kind of influenced him to do these comics. It has these stickers that they refer to in one of the issues. And then you just have these issues. And it's interesting because these comics are over 30 years old. And we know where Adrian Tomine's career went. After doing Optic Nerve, he started publishing collections of stories. He started doing illustration for the New Yorker. Then he's had graphic novels. He had a movie based on shortcomings come out last year. And you know, he's an award-winning cartoonist. He's one of my favorite cartoonists, just brilliant in his writing and his art. And it's kind of interesting to see his early work and just kind of knowing all that. And you look at this now and you think, okay, you know, and you can see there's stuff there, which is pretty interesting. And some of these stories, it's really hard to believe that a high school student did this. And also, I'm kind of interested because even though I've only been reading Adrian Tomine for the last 5 years, I've been reading independent comics. This is comics of a bygone era. It's that bygone 1990s era of comics by Richard Sala, Adrian Tomine, Dan Klaus, then later maybe Chris Ware. It's that bygone era that you're never going to see again. And this is now starting to be more like a historical reference, even though Mr. Tomine is still very much active. It's different now. Now they're at the point where they come out with a book when they want to come out with a book. And so, I was kind of curious to read this. So it's just interesting because even though the art is crude, these are just start off as 4 panels per page. It has that signature like narration by Adrian Tomine and how he can look at different parts of the human experience. Some of the stories have an ending. A lot of the stories are kind of like European, and that there's an ending, but it's just a slice of life. Not everything's like wrapped up nice and neat. Stuff is based on high school experiences, based on dreams. And so it's just pretty interesting. And, you know, he asked for $1 back then, which is a lot of money to ask for a comic like this, you know, around, you know, in comics in general. And you'll see people complain about them. Second issue came out, and just interesting. And one thing I've always liked about him is that he can write for male and female characters very well. And it's not the same type of character. I really think he's quite good at writing for both sexes and making the story seem authentic. Something that most writers cannot do. One thing that's funny is that a lot of his early work has this almost Ted McKeever quality, although I think Ted McKeever was intentionally trying to draw like that, and I think that Adrian was just coming up with his own style and learning, because his style now is much different than this. But I do actually enjoy this scene where he, in his mind, is telling his employer, he's given the business because he's tired of working there. And I almost enjoy how this is almost Bill Sienkiewicz type of thing, where it becomes like, goes from Akira to Sienkiewicz with like the exaggerated eyes and the bulging eyes. Maybe Ralph Steadman, and then here with stuff that just doesn't seem to like fit normal human faces, and that I think, like I said, like a Sienkiewicz would do, and then it goes back to normal. I think this is a really interesting approach and just way of doing it, especially for a guy who's maybe like 18 years old this time. And then, as you can see over time, his style and his faces start getting a little bit cleaner. The art starts becoming a little bit more, I don't know about polished, but maybe less rough as he's finding his way. And he does a great job drawing women always, and just very minimal work. You don't need a lot, just it's that thing that you see like a lot of, like some European cartoons, like you see like Mobius do when he would draw like a female face and just put enough there to make them attractive, but just enough. And you don't need it. Like there's not even a line for the bridge of the nose. You just see the nostrils here, but that's enough. You don't have the teeth all. You just have that white. You don't have to have all the teeth. It's just, there's just enough there so it's an attractive female, but nothing else more. And this guy, just enough there, a little bit more definition to make him look a little bit more rougher. This makes her look a little softer, but still, the clothing has a lot more definition than him. Then this was issue 6, which he expanded. The art continues to improve. It's bigger, more pages, more stories. As I said, there's growth in his character, the use of shadows and lighting. And then issue 7, he published this after winning a Zurich grant. And so this is a full color cover. You can see that the art here is much more than that Adrian Tomine style that you saw in the late aughts and you saw in the second decade of the century. And you can see where it's a little bit more of his style that you see now. It's similar to this, but more polished. And you can see here where it's like very clean and cartoony, and here is that style that he has with all the shadows and everything when he thinks it's necessary. Some of the stories are fun, some of the stories are a little creepy. Again, just a really nice growth in art by him. And this has been really interesting because, like, as I said, I've read a lot of his work. Big fan. And so this is really interesting to see this really early stage, his beginnings basically, and how far he's come along, but how you can still see certain elements. So I don't know how much this costs. Like I said, I think I got it for a good price. This is the first time I've seen one in the wild. Maybe the second, maybe the second. I think the last one I saw might have been in 2021 up in Boston. But if you're a fan of Adrian Tomine, you've never read these early stories, I think it's worthwhile to kind of read them and kind of just see the earliest. I mean, this is like if you find an album of your favorite band, it's not even an album, it's like the first mixtape or the first EP of theirs. It's rough, but there's something there. So that's it. Hope you are intrigued by this. There's a lot of history here because this was 30 years ago or more than 30 years ago when these were made. So there's a lot that I don't know that a lot of people who've been reading this from back in the day know. So if you have any thoughts or insights, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.